EX Gear 5 Bonney changed everything in OPBR, and today I'm giving you the complete updated tier list of the best units in every role right now. Runners, attackers, defenders, everything has shifted since Bonney dropped. So let's break it all down.
Hey, what's up, my brother?
Alright, let's start with runners because this is where the most interesting changes happened. Number one right now, or the number one runner right now, is Gear 5 V2, and honestly, his situation just got significantly better. His counters decreased dramatically since Bonney dropped, and that is genuinely surprising. The only real problem for Gear 5 V2 right now are Blackbeard V2 and some Nuzjuro matchups, some Egghead Chopper, and some Kubos. But compared to before, way less pressure. And since Gear 5 V2 actually counters EX Bonney, he's in a great spot right now. Still number one runner in the game, still one of my favorite character in the game. Number two runner is the Bird. Yeah, EX Marcus. Yes, the Bird is actually good right now. Here's why. His main hard counter was Zoro and Sanji, and with less Zoro and Sanji in league, the Bird can breathe again. Yes, Kubo, EX Bonney, and Blackbeard V2 still counter him, but it's manageable in my opinion. The key is watching the minimap constantly. Keep an eye on where Kubo is, that Blackbeard V2 is, that EX Bonney is, and you are good. The surprise attack from Kubo is the real pain when it comes to playing the Bird, but awareness fixes that. Number three is King V1, and I stand by this. King V1 is still an absolute GOAT as a runner right now. Before Bonney, his counters were Zoro and Sanji, Asnek, EX Whitebeard, Kuzan, but there's significantly less of those units in a league right now. So King V1 is cooking. EX Bonney can manage him, yes, I'd say yes, but King V1 can also manage Bonney back, you know. It goes both ways in my opinion. Now, special mentions for runners. This is not in my list, but yeah, let's move on to EX Law. Still working in the meta. His counters right now are basically just Blackbeard V2 and Gear 5 V2. Outside of those matchups, he's very manageable. Some might say EX Law is goated right now, but there's a lot of BB V2 out there, and there's a lot of Gear 5 V2 out there, so cooking EX Law is kinda easy. Next is Kairos, surprisingly good right now. Yes sir, he's in my special mentions. He's not in my list, but he's a good runner to be honest. He can one-tap EX Bonney and Blackbeard V2, still functions as a runner, and honestly a fun character to use, but against News J, he's having a hard time. Also, with the damage output out there, I think Kairos is manageable. Next is Red Rock Luffy. EX Bonney literally cannot cook Red Rock. With less of his usual counters in leagues, he's actually a pretty solid runner right now. Blackbeard V2 is still a threat, but overall Red Rock is performing well in the meta. Next is Runner Kaido, still a good rat. Proper build makes him annoying to deal with. Not a huge threat in league in my opinion, but still a solid option though. Next is Dark Roger V2, or yeah, the Roger V2. Putting him in special mentions. Yeah, some might think he's still in the meta, should be in the list, but nah, I think he's manageable though. Yeah, he can still function as a runner, can still one-shot or two-shot enemies depending on the matchup. Good option if you don't have a bear runner available. Also, there is Egghead Jinbei, Doc Q, which is nice though, but again, in the current meta, I don't think they're a threat. Now, attackers, and this is a not in particular order list because it's genuinely hard to rank them right now in my perspective. First, yeah, of course, it's EX Gear 5 Bonney herself, and I'm finally seeing her full potential as a unit. She's not just an attacker, she can be a defender, she can be a runner. Everything depends on the scenario and what your team needs. The problem, she's not easy to use. Most players don't understand how to use her properly, and that's why why you see so many Bonney players making mistakes. But if you build her correctly and understand her kit, she is genuinely a great unit though. She's just not a branded spam unit, and that takes adjustment for those who's been using some broken branded unit. Next is Blackbeard V2, and the day has finally come. BBV2 is back in the meta and he is popping. He cooks EX Bonney, his counters are significantly less now, and once you build him properly, he absolutely dominates. BBV2 also stops runners, or most of the runners, and the runner pressure, which is huge, and honestly he's just a fun unit to use. One of the most enjoyable character for me. Next is Zoro and Sanji duo. Yes, they're still in the meta. It's tough sometimes against a good Bonney player, but here's the thing, there are a lot of Bonney players right now who don't know what they're doing. If you are on point with Zoro Sanji duo unit, you can still cook up the meta. Zorsan is still very much viable, but again, once you understand how to use Bonney, Zoro and Sanji is not really a problem anymore. Okay, next, Kubo, of course. Kubo should be in this list. With EX Bonney everywhere right now, Kubo is eating good GOOD, brother. He hard counters EX Bonney and his damage output is still absolutely top tier. I haven't tested a maxed Bonney against Kubo yet, but you know, even if I'm not using a level 100 EX Bonney, I can manage some Kubo matchups in League. But overall, Kubo is popping in League right now, and for a good reason. Stop that Bonney. Next is Egghead Chopper. Great against EX Bonney. Just like Kubo, you can pop choppers specifically to counter the Bonney players flooding League right now. The downside, Blackbeard V2 destroys Chopper or Egghead Chopper, so you need to be aware of that matchup. But overall, Chopper is a good unit. You can play Chopper as an aggressive raccoon and you can pop. Alright, now we're gonna move on to the special mention, Kizaru. Yeah, he counters EX Bonney, which is why he's showing up in League again. But outside of that specific matchup, Gear 5 V2 handles Kizaru easily, and with Blackbeard V2 lurking, Kizaru isn't a major threat in my perspective. But good picks specifically to counter Bonney, not a general meta pick in my opinion. Now let's move on to defenders, and this is where it gets really interesting. Number one defender, and I hate to say it, it's Nuzjuro. The Baldy Donkey is back. Yes sir, he can cook EX Bonney, which is insane. He can still handle runners. With Gear 5 V2 flooding League, Nuzjuro is perfectly positioned to defend against that though. That's why he's cooking again. Number two, it's Kuzan. Yeah, Kuzan is absolutely popping off right now. Good against EX Bonney. He's still tanky, deals great damage. The only problem is if you are facing a lot of Kizaru, Kuzan struggles to survive that specific matchup. But in general, Kuzan is in an amazing spot. Number three, I'ma put Bountifest Lucci in here. Still very solid with all the Gear 5 V2 running around in League. The trick against Lucci is fake capping to bait his skill 1. Once he uses that skill 1, you are good to go. But if nobody knows that trick, Lucci is absolutely punishing runners. Alright, next is S-Snake. Still solid, still annoying, but struggling a bit with Kizaru appearing more in League. Some players are specifically running Kizaru and that hurts S-Snake badly. Still a good pick though, but right now, to be honest, I'm seeing less S-Snake. But if you're gonna think about who she counters, she can counter most of the meta runners right now. Alright, next is EX Whitebeard. Still a strong defender, but you're seeing less of him now because of Gear 5 V2. He simply can't handle multiple Gear 5 V2 units hitting him at once. But in the right matchup, still a strong pick. He can still stop those runners from capping. Alright, let's move on to special mentions for defenders. Siren. Yeah, I didn't put him in the list, but I put him in special mentions. Against EX Bonney, he can't do much. I haven't fought a good Siren. I'm not struggling against Siren since I'm running Bonney. And if you're still seeing Zoro and Sanji occasionally, Siren struggles if he is against Zoro and Sanji. Still decent against Gear 5 V2, but overall, Siren is not as dominant as he used to be. Alright, next, when it comes to our special mention is Stussy. She is good against EX Bonney, but Blackbeard V2 takes her out easily, so she's really only useful specifically against Bonney heavy team. But since I'm using Blackbeard V2, I don't think Stussy is a threat out there. And again, there's a lot of BBV2 out there. Next is Gear 5 V1. Yeah, he is a decent defender. Can pop off from time to time. If you're facing multiple Kubo players, it gets really tough for him. Since he stays mostly in the treasure area, some Kubo players are just sniping those defenders and then popping that skill too. So it's really tough for Gear 5 V1. But if you can time his counter correctly before Kubo pops skill 2, you are in a good position. You're good to go. You can survive that though. Okay, so stepping back and looking at everything, what does this meta actually tell us? The units that counter EX Bonney are popping right now. But here's the thing, most of those Bonney counters or Bonney counter units can't sustain the overall damage output in league. It's not just about countering Bonney, you need to survive the whole match. Gear 5v2 is the biggest winner of this meta shift. Less counters, still strong, still versatile, still the #1 runner in my opinion. And Blackbeard V2 is the surprise winner, finally back and absolutely thriving. A very fun unit to use. And the meta overall, more balanced than it's been in a long time. More variety, more options, more fun though. But I think runners are still struggling overall, and I think that's how it should be though. So those are the top meta units in every role right now in OPBR after EX Gear 5 Bonney dropped. So let me know in the comments who are your top units in each role right now. I want to see your list though. So that's it for this video. You know the drill. Stay salty and stay awesome. And Salty Rock now signing off.